Suddenly, screams erupted from the girls' wing. The boys heard the sound of running footsteps, followed by loud banging on their door. Let us in, please! Let us in! Let us in! The girls cried. On the story of the evil school teacher, Bright Spark Academy stood proudly in the heart of town. Parents flock to enroll their children because the school has a reputation for excellence. From its dedicated teachers to beautiful environment and sparkling clean classrooms, Bright Spark Academy was every parent's dream to send their children to. But the school's brightest star was also its darkest shadow, Miss Bambi, the grade 12 form teacher. To outsiders, Miss Bambi was a kind hearted teacher who went above and beyond for her students. She stayed after school to help with difficult subjects and even visited sick students at home. Parents spoke highly of her, but behind her smile lurked a dangerous secret. Miss Bambi was possessed by a powerful demon, a wicked force that loves to cause chaos and destruction. Her mission was to initiate three brilliant students every term into her evil coven. Under the guise of care and kindness, she spread fear, sickness, causes sudden death of students and teachers, and constant chaos throughout the school. The student hostel, a sprawling two-story building behind the school, housed students who lived far away. A sight at it gives a calm, restful, safe, and lively feeling. But as the term went on, a fearful atmosphere began to creep in. Every night, the hostel grew unnaturally cold, no matter how warm the day had been. Students would hear strange noises, heavy footsteps in the hallway, faint whispers outside their windows, and loud banging on the walls. When they opened their doors to check, no one would be there. One night, Tolu, a shy boy who shared a room with three others, woke up screaming. He had seen a shadowy figure standing at the foot of his bed, its red eyes glowing in the darkness. His roommates dismissed it as a nightmare, but Tolu insisted it was real. The next morning, Tolu looked pale and tired. His eyes stared nervously around the hostel, and he refused to stay in the room alone. His grades began to drop, and his once lively spirit faded. At night preps, mandatory study sessions held in the classrooms after dinner became a scary part of the students' routine. The idea of walking through the dark corridors of the school with the blinking lights and chilling drafts filled them with fear. During one night prep, the light in grade 12 went off completely. The students sat frozen in their seats, the darkness swallowing them. Suddenly, they heard a faint, low whisper. Yusuf, Ada, Muye. The voices grew louder, calling the names of Miss Bambi's three targets. Ada clutched her desk, her hands trembling. Muye felt a cold hand brush against his shoulder. But when he turned around, no one was there. Yusuf tried to act brave, but his heart raced as the whispers grew into menacing laughter. When the lights came back on, Miss Bambi was standing at the back of the classroom, her face calm. Is everything all right? She asked sweetly, her voice dripping with concern. The students nodded hesitantly, too scared to speak. But deep down, they knew something was terribly wrong. Under Miss Bambi's watch, the brightest students in the school began to change. Moye, who had once solved complex math problems with ease, now struggled to add simple numbers. His teachers noticed his declining performance, but Miss Bambi brushed off their concerns. He's just tired from studying too hard. Children need a break sometimes, she said with a gentle smile. I will help him catch up. Ada, Ada, the boarding scientist, became forgetful and clumsy. She spilled chemicals during experiments and mixed up simple formulas. Her once sparkling curiosity dimmed, and she began to avoid the science lab altogether. Yusuf, the talented writer, stopped writing his imaginative stories. Instead, he filled his notebooks with dark, unsettling drawings of twisted trees, shadowy figures, and eyes watching from the darkness. The other students weren't spared either. Even those who were once average began to struggle and often sleep during class. Class participations dwindled, and the once lively chatter during breaks was replaced with hushed whispers and worried glances. This particular night, the terror in the hostel reached its peak. It began with the sound of heavy breathing in the corridors. Students huddled in their rooms, too scared to check. Then came the loud, echoing sound of doors slamming shut one after another. Suddenly, screams erupted from the girls' wing. The boys heard the sound of running footsteps, followed by loud banging on their door. Let us in, please, let us in, let us in, the girls cried. When the boys opened the door, they found the girls pale and trembling. We saw her, one of them whispered, her voice shaking. A woman in black. She was floating down the hallway. The hostel matron, an elderly woman named Mamachi, rushed to calm the students. She tried to reassure them, but even she couldn't hide the fear in her eyes. The next morning, the entire hostel was abuzz with stories of what had happened. Some claimed to have seen glowing red eyes in the window, while others spoke of cold hands grabbing at them in the dark. The school management was baffled. They considered hiring security guards, but dismissed the idea, thinking it might scare the parents. They had no idea that the source of the chaos was right under their noses. Miss Bambi. The chaos wasn't confined to the students. The school staff began to turn on each other. Accusations flew during staff meetings. Some blamed the hostel matron for being careless, while others thought the students were making up stories for attention. The tension reached its peak after the PTA meeting poisoning incident regarding the sudden ill health of some parents during the gathering, just after they consumed the edibles at the meeting. Miss Bambi, due to her love for evil, has found a way to cast spell on the snacks, all to cause chaos. Trust among the staff crumbled. Mr. Sane, the home economics teacher, who was in charge of edibles for the meeting, was suspended despite his pleas of innocence. Teachers began avoiding one another, and even the proprietor, Mr. Bassi, became paranoid. Meanwhile, Miss Bambi continued to fuel the fire, subtly planting doubts and spreading rumors. Her calm and helpful attitude made her seem above suspicion. Ada's condition worsened. She began to hear voices even during the day, calling her name softly but persistently. One afternoon, as she walked past the school's old storage room, she felt an irresistible pull. She opened the door and stepped inside. The air was thick and cold, and the dim light from the window barely illuminated the dusty shelves. As she stood there, she saw a figure in the shadows, a tall, thin woman with long black hair and glowing eyes. Ada, the figure whispered, "You belong to me now." Ada screamed and ran out. But when she told her friends, they didn't believe her. They thought the stress of school was getting to her. Only Moyi and Yusuf believed her because they had experienced similar encounters. These strange occurrences continued, with most of the grade 12 students falling ill. Fever, unexplained aches, and terrifying nightmares plagued them. Some stopped coming to school altogether. Parents started whispering amongst themselves, wondering if the school was cursed. Miss Clara, the music teacher, was loved by all. She had a cheerful personality and even sang with her students during break time. She noticed the strange happening in grade 12 and grew concerned. She decided to speak to Miss Bambi about it. "Bambi," she said one afternoon in the staff room, "don't you think something unusual is going on in your class? The students are falling sick, and some of them seem really scared." Miss Bambi smiled, but there was a coldness in her eyes. "Children have wild imaginations," she said. "They'll be fine." But Miss Clara wasn't convinced. She started praying for the students and even spoke to the school proprietor, Mr. Bassi, about her concerns. That night, as Miss Clara prepared her lesson plan in the music room, she felt a sudden chill. The lights twinkled and a strange shadow appeared on the wall. She tried to move, but her body froze in place. The next morning, Miss Clara was found dead in her home. The doctors said it was a heart attack, but her face was frozen in an expression of pure terror. The news shook the school, but no one suspected Miss Bambi. She consoled the students, her voice filled with fake sorrow, but inside she felt triumphant. As the term neared its end, Moyi vanished without a trace. His parents were devastated, and the entire area joined the search. The police combed the area but found no clues. That night, Ada and Yusuf both had the same dream. They saw Moyi standing in the middle of a dark forest, his voice echoing, "Help me! Help me! Somebody please help me! Help!" The school was now in complete panic. Parents began withdrawing their children, and Bright Park Academy, once the pride of the town, became a place of fear and despair. But the real nightmare was only beginning. Hmm, would anyone uncover the truth about Miss Bambi? Could Ada and Yusuf escape her clutches? And what about Moye? What had become of Moye? The shadow of evil loomed over the school, and the battle for its soul had just begun. Stay with us as we bring to you the part 2 of The Evil School Teacher. Also, do not forget to share your thoughts on the comment section. Like and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.